Hello everyone, Oregon Moto John here, where as you can see we got a lineup of bikes behind me, and I've never done this where I did a comparison of all the bikes at once. I'll probably eventually thin the herd here, but I wanted to do this video before I did that. I have Troy with me over here. He's a good dude. He's interested in a motorcycle. He's mountain biker extreme. He can mountain bike like nobody's business, and that's a great transition into motorcycles. As all of you know, a lot of you come from mountain biking, like even myself, from mountain biking backgrounds, and then I got old and lazy and I started twisting the throttle. It do me some good to get back on a bike. So but Troy's thinking about different bikes, but like many of us, it's kind of paralysis through analysis. We got all these bikes. These are in the 300 350 to 450 range, and you know, I've had a KTM 690 Enduro R, which is an awesome bike, 890, and other bikes. This is what I've thinned the herd to. So we're going to talk about pros and cons of these different bikes. I think Troy's actually might ride some if he wants to. We're going to talk about it, and I won't film everything because I don't want to bore everybody, and we'll talk about pros and cons of all of these bikes and who they might be for. So this bike is the Honda 300L. It's the low seat version.
Right.
For you, how tall are you?
6 foot.
6. Okay, so
yeah.
you don't need that.
Yeah, I
okay.
need that.
Yeah. Okay, so we would for him, it's 6 foot. We would take him off the list. If you're 5'5", 5'6", this could be a really good option. It's the same as the 300L. It's just a lower seat height. So we're gonna move Troy over to the 300L. They have the rally model. What's unique about these bikes is they have a street 300cc engine, so they're super reliable. You don't have to do a lot of oil changes with them. I mean, like, right. 6,000 mile interval. It's got a street bike motor, 28 horsepower ish. Chromoly steel frame, which is great at absorbing vibration. This is a great starter bike. You know, a heavier bike, but it's a great starter bike. You could get on that bike and you would be really, really happy.
Right.
Low maintenance, bulletproof, great fuel economy. A little heavier though if you're going to be on trails and stuff. You know, 300 and some pounds versus the 450, which looks the same, right? These two bikes look the same, but here we've moved to a 450 motocross engine, which likes oil changes every 600 miles. Some people stretch it up to 1,000.
Right. I
like to change it every 600 miles. Then you don't ever have to crack the motor open. Pros and cons: more power, harder to control, lighter weight though than the 300. So you can imagine the dynamics here. If you have a bike over here, the 300, which is less horsepower and a little heavier, more horsepower and 280 pounds-ish versus 300 and some pounds, you know this one's going to feel snappier.
Right. Slightly
lower seat height with the 300. This has a very high seat height, but for you, this is might be a pretty good option, because it does street pretty good. It's got a high overdrive gear. The 6 gears high, so on the street I don't mind riding this bike. Whereas like in the 300 is a great street bike too. This is more of a street bike frame with a street bike motor that's been kind of tweaked to do dirt, whereas this is a motocross frame, a motocross engine that's been tweaked to do a little street.
Right.
So we're kind of coming from different, you know, the 300 is kind of more street, that's turned to a dual sport to be dirt, whereas this is based off the motocross bike. The frame, you can see it's got an aluminum frame here. It's thick and rigid, versus this has this metal chromoly frame, maybe some aluminum in there, but it's basically a steel frame. You can see kind of this wishbone frame versus this, which is aluminum.
Oh, that makes sense.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it just looks more motocross type.
It's faster.
It is. It's faster.
Yeah.
Power. This has like, I think, 50-ish horsepower at the wheel. You know, like 30-ish, but you can feel it when you twist the throttle on the 450. It wants to go. But when you're on trails, it can be a handful. But it's great on the road and trails. It can do it. So here, I put these two bikes next to each other because the 450 and the 350 actually do things similarly. I can do similar things on these bikes. But if the going gets really nasty, I prefer the 350 because it's like 240 pounds versus 280 some. With the 450 here,
Right.
280 some pounds versus 240 pounds, 235 pounds ish, which you wouldn't think you would feel, but when you're in nasty stuff, roots and rocks, and you're getting hung up, you notice it. The bike falls over, you notice it.
Yeah.
So this is, and these are both plateable. What's nice, all these bikes in this lineup are all plateable. You can get a plate and ride from this garage, which I do all the time, and ride up to the mountains. But this 350 needs oil changes every 3 to 5 hours, or excuse me, every 5 to 10 hours. It's got a motocross engine, and the 6th gear on this 350 versus this 450 is lower. So this 450, even though it's more based off a motocross bike, I can go on the highway and I could go all hours on this. It wouldn't bug me on the highway.
Right.
Whereas this, I just want to do just enough pavement to connect to trails. But when you get to the trails, it is happy. It is happy. But if I had to ride this thing, buzz down the highway for hours,
Right. Not worth it.
no, yeah, I would be like, oh, this is rough. Because at 60, it can go like 85.
Yeah.
But at 60 in 5th gear, I'm hunting for another gear. It's kind of
Makes sense.
yeah. But
It's like where you don't want like anything less than a 750 for a street bike.
yeah, and like you could gear this thing up, and it's got the power. I mean, it'll go 100 miles an hour, the 450. But it's like when you're on the single track, the 450 sometimes just feels like a lot of bike when it's really technical. So then we moved to the 300, which is a 2-stroke, really isn't plateable in most states. And if it gets really nasty, this is what I like to take because it's torquey, it's stall resistant. It has a high seat height like the other two bikes, but I don't know what it is. It doesnn't feel high to me. It doesn't scare me, whereas these other bikes feel high. It is high, but when you get on it, it settles in, and I don't notice it. I don't know what it is. And I'm short. I'm like 5'6.5", 30-inch inseam. So I don't know if I can feel comfortable on that bike. Probably most people would, but really torquey, really stall resistant. This bike makes me a much better rider than I am when the going gets tough. But you can't buzz this down the highway. Now you got to trailer it up.
Right.
You gotta get it there somehow. And for me, most days I'm doing good just to get out of the garage and get up there.
Yeah,
so I kind of favor, most of the time I'm riding my dual sports just because of the ease of riding. Any questions on these? I know I've kind of just introduced a bunch of them, and
no, they're all pretty sweet.
and for you, you're probably looking at more like trails and things, you think?
Trails, trail maintenance, going mountain biking, like when trees are down, hauling a chainsaw up and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, the Husky has a carbon fiber subframe, which probably isn't wonderful for loading up with a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so this can take like a tool bag or something light, but you can see it says carbon, composite subframe. So it's not weak, but I wouldn't say it's good for big loads.
Right.
The Honda has a steel or aluminum frame that's thick. One guy put a mount on here and he jumped up and down with his full body weight.
Right.
This thing's super strong.
Yeah.
You could load this up with a lot of weight on the 450. Likewise, the 300L, you can see I got this rack here, and a rack would install on the 450 as well. This can take, with a steel subframe, it can take a lot of weight.
Right.
So for maintenance,
Yeah, no kidding.
now fuel economy, I get like 65, 70 miles per gallon with the Honda 300L, 45-ish with the 450,
Right.
50-ish with the 350. 50, 55, and then the 300, I'm not even sure. It seems like it's pretty fuel efficient. I'd say 45, 50, 50-ish. But for trail maintenance, But would you want to go up there and like rock and roll on those trails, or are you just kind of looking to just putter around?
Kind of. I mean, I'm getting old, so yeah, I would think maybe. I'm sure once you start riding, you're gonna get, stepping up. But,
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll ride these bikes, but I think one of those bikes over there might be the ticket. You could get a KTM, a 350, which would move you away from the EXC, which would move you away from the carbon composite subframe and still give you a pretty quick bike on the trails.
Did someone buy KTM out? Didn't they go bankrupt? Or?
They had like another company buy them out.
Right.
And I think they're still going to be strong with the dirt bikes, but they've kind of trimmed the fat off the bird, you could say. But I still wouldn't hesitate to buy their dirt bikes. So I know a lot of people buy the 300L as a starter bike or for their girlfriend and what have you, wife or girlfriend. I really like it. I like riding this. I bought the 300L low seat for my daughter, and I ride this 300L with her when we go riding.
Yeah. And
I find myself really loving it. I thought I would get rid of it and just ride my 450 when we ride, but I like this. It's comfortable. It's got a super light clutch. The 450 has so go ahead and feel the clutch on the super. Go ahead and feel that. It's super nice.
Oh, yeah.
Now feel the 450 clutch.
Yeah.
And which isn't a problem. So I don't want to give anybody an idea it's a problem. Right. It's not. It's just different.
Yeah.
And so this bike is just, I don't know, it's just fun to ride, but if you're looking for the adrenaline rush of the power, 350, 450, 300, two-stroke. So, and I can get that rush with this by grabbing the right gear, but I got to rev it up in each gear. Whereas the 450, you just twist the throttle, or the 350, and you got the power.
Yeah.
But yeah, sit on it, man. No, please do.
Yeah.
And you're 6 foot tall, so you're
like 6 foot.
You're able to get to the ground easy, and that has aftermarket suspension, which raises it up a tad over the stock one, just a tad, not a lot.
Oh yeah, what? Like the forks, everything.
The spring, I did some things with the spring rates and swapped the rear shock out to a Rally Raid kit, and it just makes it a little more. From the factory, it's a little mushy on certain years.
Yeah, I know, that's what I read.
And I think they improved that for 2025, and this is a 2024. But it wasn't a big deal just to do some tweaking on the suspension.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, get on the Honda, get on that 450.
All right.
Yeah, put the kickstand up on that. It'll make it easier. You're tall enough. See, I'm so short. If I get on there with the kickstand up, I'll fall over. See, it's different. Isn't it totally different?
Yeah, totally. You can tell.
You can just tell.
Yeah, the seat. Yeah. I know, and what's this?
This is, what's that?
This.
Oh, steering stabilizer. It isn't necessary. I put it on my 350 and the 450. Just when you're on the street and even on trails, it's hydraulic, and so if it gets a quick movement, it'll slow that down so you can catch it, so you don't wash your front end out. And if you're on the highway, it'll just take some of that quick vibration out. It'll slow that down. You can adjust that with different settings, but it's a hydraulic dampener. And you can ride it without it, but on the street, I liked it better with it because it just felt more settled in, didn't feel so twitchy. But you don't need it. I rode it for months without it, and it was fine. I haven't put a dampener on the 300. I don't feel like it needs it at all because it's more of a street-biased engine, and I didn't put a dampener on it. I have no plans to put a dampener on a 300.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the rake of the forks a little different.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. This favors street riding, whereas that on the street is a little twitchy. Not bad at all, but the dampener makes it feel at home on the highway, and then when you get on trails, it still turns in well because of the rake angle.
Yeah, very cool.
But yeah, get on that 350. Get on all of them. Yeah, I say sit on all of them, and we'll start them up and let you ride them too.
Oh yeah, this one's way more upright. Huh?
Yeah. See, yes, and I did a sub mount here. I got the bars up, so that part of that's me. I raised the bars about an inch. But you could leave them. You got long enough arms. You'd probably want to leave them lower.
Yeah.
But I have arms like a T-Rex, so I have short little stubby arms.
Yeah, that's pretty comfy. Comfy though.
See, it's just, everything feels just a little bit different.
Oh, I'm like, where's the kickstand?
And this has a hydraulic clutch, so it's got a little different, feel how easy that is to pull.
Yeah. Huh. I know, and then I got to go back to my roots, because we all had 2-strokes when we were kids. Right?
Oh, in the old 2-strokes, you were either in the power band or not.
Right.
These new ones, they have power valves, so they're torquey all the way from low and grunt to mid range. You don't have to rev them up and rev the heck out of them anymore. You don't have to do any of that. And it's fuel injected. It injects the oil in with the gas. All I do is stick gas in there and make sure it's got oil, and off you go.
Yeah, very cool.
Really torquey. This thing, I can't even believe how stall resistant. I don't know that I've ever stalled that thing on the trail.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. It's a crazy torque monster. I don't quite understand it, but it just is.
Very cool.
So here he is trying this out.
Smile on my face?
Yeah, yes. So what do you think? 4-stroke versus 2-stroke?
Well, the 2-stroke rips.
Heck yeah. That's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing like the sound of the ring, ding, 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 ding.
It makes you a kid again.
Yes, it does.
And so he rode the 300 XCW and then the 350. And now we were like, well, we got to take him out on at least the 450. He may ride the 300, so we'll at least get him out on the 450. So we're going to go ahead and do that now.
Yeah.
So actually, we're going to take the 300L out and the 450 RL, and then we're gonna switch, and then he'll tell us what he thinks.
Yeah, from someone that doesn't ride.
From someone that doesn't ride. Awesome. Here we are getting the post-ride feelings between the 300L and the 450 RL. What do you think? I mean, they're so different.
They're totally different. That one was surprisingly really smooth and comfortable, and it didn't feel like it was underpowered.
The 300L it's a sneaker bike.
Yeah, I thought that I would feel maybe I wanted a little bit more, which you kind of do, but
it's adequate.
yeah, it totally was adequate.
It is, and it's smooth.
Yeah, as trying to decide what I would want, it's still a tough choice.
Right.
I think the lightness of the 2-stroke.
Yep.
And you feel like you can really ride it.
You can feel like you can do anything on that bike.
And I think that's kind of, I don't know what to say.
So pros and cons. You know, like a 2-stroke, you need a new piston every 140 hours, right. 150 hours, some say 80 hours, but I think it's more like for guys like us, 150, or some guys get 200 hours-ish. 4-stroke, if you change your oil regularly, you can you just change an oil, and you don't need to do that.
And the price difference between the two is pretty substantial too.
Yeah. True. So, for a 2-stroke, $8,000 to $14,000 depending on what you do.
Right.
300L, $5,500, $5,200. 450, 10 grand. 350, 10 to 13 grandish. Yeah. So, but 4-stroke versus 2-stroke, as far as capability, it's hard to beat that 2-stroke.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just the sensation.
Yeah, the sensation that ring, ding, 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 ding.
Just makes you wonder.
And the smile on your face says it all.
Right. Yeah.
The big thing that you have to decide on is if you want it plated, if you want to ride from your home, or you want a trailer to your home.
Which I want to ride.
So that is the thing.
Yeah, that wipes out the 2-stroke.
Yeah, right.
It totally makes the 2-stroke off the table. But
so what do you think? What do you think between you don't need to make a decision today, but what do you think between a 350, a 450, a 300L? I mean, what do you think? I mean, what's your...
Well, the hard part for me is because I'm kind of jaded because I work for Honda, so I would want Honda cars.
Oh.
So I would have to probably pick a Honda.
Well, I'm a Honda fan. I am a Honda fan. So you're in good company.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a Honda fan.
Yeah, I would have to probably go with a Honda, but
So which let's see, your 450 versus Adrenaline versus Smooth Friendly Friend, or Adrenaline and Power.
right. The thing that jades me is because I know myself, and once I become better at riding, I'm gonna want the bigger one.
There, you know what?
Yeah.
I could understand that. That isn't a wrong choice to know yourself.
Yeah.
And so we were just talking about how a 450, a 350 4-stroke will do it, and really even the 300L will do everything but the most extreme. And you can do it on these bikes. There might be a point where the weight makes you work a little harder, whereas the 300, it's so light that you just can't help but
Feel like you can
flick it and you're Superman.
Yeah.
But these other bikes will do everything but the most extreme.
I can see that. Yeah.
This is good. You're going through this process.
I know. It's pretty impressive that I was able to ride all these.
I'm glad you were able to. Sorry that video was a little underexposed because we were in the shade out there, but at least I think the content might help someone. Hope it'll be useful. I think he's leaning towards the 450 and the 300 RL, the Hondas, just because he's has a history with Honda and is comfortable with Honda. And I can't say enough about the Honda build quality. Those of you who know me know I like KTM and Husky as well. So nothing against them, but I think it'll be interesting to see if he does pull the trigger on a bike. And he's a really good mountain biker, so there's nothing wrong with continuing to do that. But after riding all the bikes, the 300 2-stroke, I could tell had his soul. He was, he was really excited to ride that. But for just practicality, he's thinking something plated like the 300L or the 450 RL, just so he could ride it from home. I know for me, even though I love my 2-stroke a lot, much of the time I end up riding my 4-strokes just because they're plated. I can roll out of the garage and ride there, do some stuff, and then ride home. So, a plated bike, I mean, it's convenient for people who are busy and have other things going. So, anyway, there's that. Hope this was useful. Hope this helped somebody out. I know this wasn't an exhaustive review between all the bikes, but at least it was a review to kind of just see the process of all the different bikes and kind of a quick comparison. A little bit of a down and dirty comparison. Anyway, getting them all lined up. Anyway, hope this finds you well. Hope it was useful in some way. If you like this kind of content, please feel free to like and subscribe. All right. Have an awesome day and keep riding.